hello. It has been a while since we have seen some battles, but here we have a tournament finals battle. We got beesjeans versus Ed02 in the finals of a battle coin tournament, XB's single type tournament. So all Pokemon in this tournament can only have one type, no dual types allowed, such as fighting type only Conkeldurr versus steel type only Klinklang, as we see in our lead matchups. But we are getting right into it. Let's get this battle going. Of course, a nice lead matchup for Ed here. So beesjeans forced to switch out on that Drain Punch, very scary move, and Hippowdon coming in as a very nice defensive option against Ed. Ed does choose to sharpen here, but immediately gets his accuracy lowered by that mud bomb and decides against it. If the accuracy was not lowered, he maybe could have just stayed in and kept on drain punching against the Hippowdon, but that did not happen. So Umbreon will be switched in instead, and Ed is going to try that out. Gets the accuracy lowered on that too, but gonna just try and throw off a Toxic. beesjeans has, of course, scouted Ed's team and knows that Toxic is coming out, switches right into Klinklang, which we will see is going to be the option for getting, not getting Toxic. Ed loves to Toxic things with this team. It's very, very strong having that healing Toxic Umbreon, and beesjeans is having none of it. So Ed, knowing that's not going to work, switches into Zebstrika, a bit of a strange switch in, takes a really big hit from that Shadow Bone, and we'll see what he wants to do with it. I have actually seen this battle. I watched it live, but it has been a minute, so I don't remember it quite so well. Gets the para on the Klinklang, which is quite nice because Klinklang's fairly fast, and immediately gets some payout there with the full para. But all of that was, of course, done at the cost of quite a bit of HP on that Zebstrika. So beesjeans definitely overall ahead in terms of health, but this Klinklang is paralyzed, and that could be a problem in the future. Conk drain punching this Hippo again, healing up. And the Hippo's already starting to be a little bit low on health at this point, but of course, as all good Hippos do, this Hippo does have Shore Up and can be pretty tanky. So neither of them were making too much headway. Of course, the Hippo can just keep on healing, but it can't really do too much damage to the Drain Punch, so neither of them liked it. They both switched out, and now we have Umbreon versus Sylveon, which of course does very much go in favor of the Sylveon in this case. Very super effective against Dark. Ed could just get off a Toxic, but doesn't want to mess with that. Ends up sacking Zebstrika. That'll be the first kill going to beesjeans here. And Muck comes in as a nice answer to Sylveon. That poison type being super effective against Fairy, but of course beesjeans isn't going to let that happen. Switches back into that Klinklang to avoid the poison move, but Ed smartly uses Spark instead of his poison move, knowing that the Klinklang is going to come in. These players, of course, always thinking 2 steps ahead. And we're going to find ourselves in a bit of a triangle, as we often do, sort of a thing. Ed has things that he wants to do that he can't really get done until the Klinklang's out of the way. So that's one of the things he wants to try and get rid of at some point. And he brings in Conk again here, goes for the Sharpen, and now he has a Sharpen Conk against Leafeon. Leafeon does have very high physical defense, so it is a bit of a threat, but with that +1 Conk, who has a ridiculous attack stat, will still be doing well over half, and that's a very nice turn there for Ed doing tons of damage to Leafeon, but also healing quite a bit as well. Yes, the Leafeon is healing with Horn Leech, but the Conk is just doing a much better job. Ends up killing the Leafeon almost perfectly there, I'm sure. And ending that 1v1 at 112 health. Not bad at all. Back into the Sylveon, which we can see is actually a bit of a problem for Ed's team. He's a little bit weak to Sylveon overall, and his best option for fighting the Sylveon is Muck, which is pretty good, but beesjeans has quite a few answers for Muck. Back into Umbreon. This Umbreon really wants to Toxic, but beesjeans again is not going to let that happen. As long as this Klinklang is alive, the Toxic isn't going to be going off. Ed realizes that and says, okay, well fine, I'll just fight the Klinklang with my Umbreon. It's paralyzed, so might as well. What's the Klinklang gonna do? Goes for Shadow Bone, that does nothing, and this Umbreon is actually to some degree fighting its counter, getting rid of the Toxic immunity. Very, very nice for Ed there. Now he's able to click Toxic when he wants to, but he of course can't do it against the Sylveon. So he's forced to switch out into Muck, but beesjeans expects that and switches into Barrascuda. Now I'm not so sure that Barrascuda was the best call for fighting Muck, because Barrascuda does have very low defenses. It will be able to get off a good hit, as we see here, but it's also gonna take a big hit from that Spark. Not quite killing, a Para would have been devastating there, but Ed does decide to save his Muck. He knows that it's very useful for fighting the Sylveon, because the Sylveon could win if he doesn't have an answer to that. So he ends up switching into Espeon, which just gets absolutely destroyed by that liquidation. Not quite dead, but Barrascuda is so fast that this Espeon unfortunately was not able to do anything at all this battle and just drops. So Ed has to go into his own Barrascuda here. We've got a Barrascuda versus Barrascuda. And beesjeans happens to be just a little bit faster, gets off that super effective freeze dry, but doesn't do too much. And Ed connects with the Aqua Tail, killing the opponent Barrascuda, which is pretty nice. But Buffalont is here and has quite a lot of health, so it's going to be hard to break through that. But this Umbreon is here, has Toxic, has Heal, and is willing to fight that long battle. Buffalont goes for Revenge. It's Buffalon's special Revenge, which is fighting, but again, Umbreon just so tanky that it doesn't actually really even care that much. It's taken like maybe a third, probably closer to a fourth. And so now that the Klinklang Steel type is out of the way, gets that Toxic off nice and easy. Even goes for a taunt there, to make sure that the Hippo can't heal. We don't often get to see taunts that are effective in PCG battles, but as this Hippo is starting to get low and taking Toxic damage, it's actually pretty significant that the Hippo is taunted on this turn specifically, because I'm sure the Hippo would have wanted to heal, but it cannot. Has to go for Mud Bomb instead, and will die to the Umbreon. beesjeans starting to look a little bit in trouble, but still has the Sylveon. As long as the Sylveon is alive, it's a bit of a threat. We see here that Ed is not comfortable switching into Muck because his Muck is too low on health and he knows that he needs it. He actually switches on this turn, a little bit dangerous, but doesn't get punished for it, and will be able to fire off a nice attack here. With the Sylveon Toxic, it's starting to take a little bit of chip damage. The Buffalont now is a little bit low, switches back into Umbreon for the sack, which will die, and now Ed can bring in his Conk. The Sylveon, of course, is still alive, so beesjeans isn't out of it yet, because the Sylveon can eat up this Drain Punch and Ed can't stay in with the Conk. But now that it's Toxic and low on health, it's just a matter of time until the Sylveon is gonna go down, and once the Sylveon goes down, then the Conk can win. So Ed does seem to be in a pretty nice position here. Draining Kiss healing up a little bit, but the toxic damage just taking it back down. So at this point, Ed is down to just Conk and Barrascuda. So again, as long as he's able to beat the Sylveon, then the Conk wins. Beesjeans knows that and tries to save the Sylveon by switching to Buffalont, but Barrascuda is of course faster than Buffalont also and will just take it out. And then it's just the Sylveon, which now dies to the Barrascuda. And what ends up being a pretty close battle, thanks to the Sylveon, will go to Ed. He takes it. He takes the whole tournament, all of it, all of the glory, hundreds of people in that tournament, and Ed wins it all. Congratulations, Ed, and nice job to both battlers. GG!